Hey everybody, today on the Polygon we're going to be replacing the brake rotors and the brake pads. I've got a 200mm rotor going on the front, the 180 is going to be moved to the back, the 160 is getting ditched. We're going to reuse the resin pads that are in the brakes already. Then we've got sintered metal pads going on the front. Supposedly they'll give more brake modulation, I don't know, but we're going to try it out and see.
Look at this guy.
Okay, so I actually already tried to do this once and it did not work out for me. I thought I was missing some bolts. So the adapter that I bought to take the front from 160 to 200, it didn't come with caliper bolts. So I'm actually gonna have to use these short bolts in the back, these short bolts from the back to mount the front caliper. And then since the front already has this 180mm adapter, that's going to get moved to the back with the rotor to adapt that to the 180mm from the 160. So today the tools we're going to be needing are a pair of needle nose pliers. That's going to remove the cotter pin from the brake caliper so we can replace the brake pads. You're going to need a 5 and a 6mm Allen wrench. May vary on your bike. So the 6mm Allen wrench is going to be used to take the through axle out to get the wheel off. The 5mm Allen wrench is going to be used to remove the caliper bolts and the caliper adapter. So we got a bottom bracket tool here on a ratchet that's going to allow us to take off the center lock rings to remove the rotors. I also have a torque wrench to put this back on to make sure we get it torqued down to the proper torque so they don't come off while I'm riding. Okay, so here we got the disc brake mount adapter, 203mm. But anyways, it's a post-to-post mount. It takes it from 160 to 203. Here's a 203mm rotor from Magura. It's a lot thicker than the stock Shimano ones that came on my bike. It'll give it more durability as far as if it gets hit with anything, it won't bend as easy, and hopefully it should last longer. And I made sure to get one that is compatible with the sintered metal brake pads that I have. So I've got 2 sets of sintered metal brake pads. Only the fronts are going to be done. Current rotors that are on there are for resin pads only, and we're moving this front rotor to the back. Let's get to it. Okay guys, first we're going to take out the axle. Once it's out, should just drop straight down. I like to run the axle back through and kind of thread it in so I don't lose it, so it'll be there when I come back. So we're gonna go ahead and set this off to the side. Let's shift the bike to the smallest cog or the highest gear, and that'll allow us to get the wheel on and off a lot easier. Also, if your bike has a clutch, make sure to cut it off. It'll also aid in taking the back wheel on and off. Next, we're gonna take off the rear wheel. Now that we've got it shifted to the highest gear, got the derailleur clutch turned off, we can take the rear through axle out. And we'll do the same as we did with the front. And we'll put the axle back in. So after pulling the axle out, you pull the derailleur down, it should just drop straight out. I like to stick this back through, give it a little tighten. Just a little bit so it don't fall out. That way we know where it's at, we don't lose it. Let's set this over to the side. Now that we've got the front and rear wheel and tire off, we're going to take off the front brake caliper and the rear brake caliper and move the adapter bracket from the front to the back. To do this, you're going to need a 6mm Allen wrench. Normally stands have a tray. I don't have one. I don't remember what I did with mine. So anywho, we're going to take these self-leveling bolts out. Okay, now we're back here at the rear caliper. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to loosen it up. Like I said, these 2 bolts we're going to have to reuse with the new adapter for the front to adapt it from 180 to 203. We're going to use the front bolts back here with the adapter that was on the front of my bike to adapt this 160 post mount to a 180 post mount.
Which one I could do? This one or this one? I think this.
And honestly, it's probably not very good to let your calipers just hang. So note that. Now we're here. This has a up. Shows you which end goes up. So it should go on right. Like that, I would think. I don't know if I have any more slack. There we go. So I had to pull a little bit of slack out of my brake line to make this work. There we go. And you've got two different size bolts. You've got a longer one and a shorter one. The longer one goes through the longer part of the adapter and into the frame. And the short one will go through the shorter part of the adapter and into the frame. So you don't want to tighten the brake caliper bolts all the way down because we're going to have to center the caliper over the rotor once we put the wheel back on. This brake mount adapter, it came with the mount adapter, and it came with two little bolts, no washers, nothing else. The short bolts that came with it is to mount the adapter to the fork. We're going to use the short bolts off the rear to mount the caliper to the bracket. So once again, it has an up, and this is the 203 millimeter post-to-post mount from Shimano from a 160. I had a 160 to 180 millimeter adapter on it before. That's why we didn't get a 180 to 203. We got a 160 to 203. It already had an adapter on it to begin with. That's why we went with this. And I don't know offhand what the torques are, so we're going good and tight plus a little bit. I will find the torque specs later, but I don't have any Allen wrenches to torque this down. So just based on how much force it took for me to break them loose earlier, that's what I'm going off of. You know what, guys? I'm sorry. I put those bolts in, and I really should have put some Loctite on them first. I did not, so let's go do that. So I've got blue thread locker here. It's actually already had some on there. I didn't realize it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put some on there, just a little more. Just a little bit. It is the brakes after all. Just a little bit. Both of these bolts are the same size, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, both of these are the same size. So we'll find that up arrow and we will mount them up. Hand start them a little bit. Make sure you use blue Loctite and not red, because red you will never get it off again. So I don't like to tighten too tight with the ball end because it can round stuff out. So we're gonna go here and then we're gonna just, ooh, there went a big B, and just give it a little good snug. So these caliper bolts, they've got Loctite already on them. Got them hand started. Once again, we'll take them in. We'll take them all the way in, but not all super tight, because we're going to have to adjust where the brake caliper sits once we get the wheel back on. So we just kind of leave it a little bit loose. Like just like that. So now we're going to actually change the brake pads out right here. So to do that, we are going to take this cotter pin out. Cotter pin out. The brake pads will slide right out. Okay, so to put the new brake pads in, they have a little spring mechanism right here that has to go in with it, and then the cotter pin goes through that hole right there in the top. There's a hole at the top of the brake caliper on both sides, and it goes all the way through. So compress the pads and stick them in. Kind of have to wiggle them a little bit, but they'll go in, and then you can run the cotter pin straight through. And make sure it goes through everything, all of it. Make sure it goes through both pads and the metal spring in the middle. This cotter pin's already a little bit bent, so we're gonna take our pliers and we're gonna flatten it back out. You know, you gotta move them around a little bit. You wanna make sure it goes through all three, just like that. Then after you get it all the way through, you're gonna take your pliers, you're gonna bend it up. That way, the brake pads can't fall out. You wanna bend it up. That way the brake pads can't fall out on you. Let's go on to the wheels.
Okay.
Here we got the front with the 180 mil. We're gonna take this tool, actually gonna stand it up like this.
Getting hot.
So we can spin it off. Be sure to grab the rotor from the middle so you don't get any grease and oil on the rotor. We're still gonna clean them with isopropyl alcohol at the end, but it doesn't matter. Less grease is always better. So here we've got the new 203 mil rotor and lock ring. Just look at the size difference in that. Like, just massive. I mean, definitely thicker, definitely a lot thicker, and just it towers over it. Like, it sits down over it. Got the new lock ring. Screw it on by hand. Says torque it to 40 Newton meters. 40 Newton meters is about 33 foot-pounds, so that's what we're going to torque it to. And I am going the wrong way. And there we go. 33 foot-pounds, 40 Newton meters. So here we have the rear wheel and tire assembly. We have to remove this little bitty 60 mil rotor to put that 180 on there. The 180 mil rotor, the 140.
What you gonna say about?
These are the ones that came on the bike.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
mean, just
Yeah,
look at the size difference.
Yep.
Hopefully that'll make everything feel just a lot better. Once again, 33 foot-pounds, 60 Newton meters, or sorry, 40 Newton meters, or 33 foot-pounds. Okay, now that we've got the new brake pads in, we're going to go ahead and remount the wheel up. So we're going to take off. We're going to take the front axle back out, and then we're going to slide the wheel back up in there. line the new rotor up with the pads, and hopefully there's enough gap in there the rotor will fit, because this rotor is thicker and it's brand new pads. Okay, so I got it in, everything lines up nice. I don't have bits to torque this down, but it torques 9 to 13 Newton meters. It says it right there in the bolt, which, you know, is snug. I'm gonna say plus, you know, about a quarter turn. Okay, so I'm not really sure how you center up a brake caliper on a bicycle, but in theory, the new rotor is 100% flat. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab the brake and I'm just gonna tighten it down, and hopefully that'll center it up nice and good. So I've got a hold of the front brake. I'm gonna just take the 5mm and tighten this back down. And sounds like it's rubbing a little bit. I put the high spot in the rotor. Don't know if this will make a difference, but I'm just gonna loosen them back up, tighten them back down. I guess I could watch YouTube to try to figure this out, but I didn't, so we'll see. Rubbing just a little bit. It's not gonna bother me though. Okay, so I was looking at the axle, and it was pretty dirty. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe all this nasty, dirty grease off, and then I've got some just like regular automotive grease I'm gonna put back on it. Come here. So I'm just gonna apply a little bit here and a very thin layer across the axle. That way it keeps everything nice and smooth. So got the axle, got the tire. We will just pull this down. Try to line the chain up. Well, chain just popped off the front, but there we go. It's hitting up against the brake rotor where we left it loose. So now that we've got that axle started back in, we're gonna just start it real nice and gentle. Get it in there tight. I actually do have a torque wrench. I forgot it came with the bike. So we'll find the axle size. This one torques to 11. So boom, we got it. So we'll check this one at 9 to 13. Yeah, about 12. So a quick Google search yielded a result of 6 to 9 Newton meters for the torque on the calipers, on the caliper bolts. So okay, now that we're at the rear, I still have it loose. And we're gonna just let it do its thing. I'm gonna tighten them down a little bit. Okay, so once again, I'm gonna grab this brake lever and then I'm gonna tighten them down.
Now.
So I'm listening for a rub. I don't hear any rub.
Now.
Okay. So now we're gonna torque these down to the recommended 6 to 9. We're gonna go 8. And we're gonna go about 8 right here. Okay, now we're gonna take some isopropyl alcohol and a paper towel, wipe down these brake rotors, make sure we got them super clean, all of the dirt and grime off, so we don't contaminate the pads. We get a good contact patch. We get good brakes. Don't know if this is the proper way to do it, but this is how we're doing it. Now we're gonna move to the rear. We're gonna do the same thing on the rear. So the rear one's already been bedded in with the old pads that were on the front. So I don't know if using this isopropyl alcohol is gonna take some of that bedding out. Anyways, we're gonna rebed both of them when we're done. Wow, you can feel how not smooth this rotor is compared to the other one. It's pretty crazy. Like, look at that. Look at all that just pad material that's coming off. We got the new 203mm rotor put up front with the new sintered metal brake pads. We got that old 180mm rotor put on the back here with the old organic pads. They're bedded in. They're doing good. Thanks for watching. Let me know what y'all thought. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought, what I can do better, what y'all'd like to see in the future. Be sure to like and subscribe. Till next time, ride hard.